Hello everyone, welcome back to Vedic Enigma. So I hope that all of you are doing great. So in today's video, we will be talking about synastry. So we will talk about Venus and how to see the synastry for Venus in different charts. And as we know that Venus is a very important planet, especially when it comes to relationships, because it is the primary planet which represents your marriage, which represents everything connected to love and relationships. So we would be seeing how, the other person's Venus, when superimposed on your chart would affect your life. And we will also talk about the synastry of Venus with different planets. Like for example, if somebody's Venus is getting superimposed with your Mars or with your Rahu or Ketu, then what does it mean? But before I start with the video, I would really appreciate if you like, comment, and subscribe to Vedic Enigma. So it will really mean a lot to me. So let's begin with the video now. So like we know that, when we talk about any kind of relationship that you have with somebody, so Venus is the primary planet which is responsible for that. And we also know that it naturally rules the seventh house, which is again connected with other people and it is connected with relationships. And it is also the planet of love, like how you express yourself in a relationship. What is your true happiness? What gives you pleasure? So you can find all these things out, with the help of your Venus in your chart. And if you see that, any kind of relationship that is very, I would say, profound, in that way that it is very strong, it has that strong connect, strong attachment, or strong attraction. So you will find this a lot of times that, the other person's Rahu or Mars would be entwined, to your Venus or vice versa. For example, if suppose you have Venus in the sign of Aries in your chart, and you meet like somebody who has suppose Rahu in the sign of Aries, Leo or Sagittarius. So which means that their Rahu is basically entwined to your Venus. And similarly, if in their chart also, like suppose they have their Venus in the sign of Gemini, let's say, and you have your Rahu placed in Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, then, both of your charts, Rahu and Venus, are kind of connected to each other in a way. And similarly, this kind of a thing can also happen with Mars. Like suppose you can have your Mars in the sign of, let's say, Taurus, and you find somebody who has, their like if so sorry if suppose you have your Venus in the sign of Taurus, and let's say you find somebody who has their Mars in the sign of Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, so it would be falling in the trine. And when this kind of a combination alignment happens, it really shows that the kind of attraction, physical attraction, chemistry, and attachment that you would have with each other would be very strong, because of the influence of Mars and Rahu. So Rahu creates a lot of obsession, like in the person, like if you have the Venus Rahu combination thing happening, so it really shows that there is a strong pull and kind of like a magnetic energy that you can feel, that you get more drawn towards that person. And Mars would give more of that, physical attraction. And, it is like that lust thing is, a very heavy with this Venus Mars thing. So that is something which you will notice with these planets. Let's say if you find, for example, Ketu, instead of Mars or Rahu interfering with your Venus, like suppose you have your Venus in the sign of Virgo, and you find somebody who has Ketu in Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, then it can show a very strong connection from the past. It can show that maybe you have something very karmic, something very significant connected to Ketu karma with this person, and that is the reason why you are kind of meeting them. And with Venus and Ketu, sometimes you will again see that there can also be this extreme kind of an energy that can play out, Sometimes it can bring a lot of repulsion also, towards this person, that because Ketu is also that detachment, repulsive energy. And at times, if suppose the connect is so strong and so deeply connected with past, you can also feel as if you know this person since, quite a long time. Even if you might have just met them for the first time, you feel as if you know them forever. So Ketu can also show something like that. If suppose you have Sun interacting with Venus, like, if you have Venus, let's say in the sign of Cancer, and you find somebody, like it could be your husband, your boyfriend, and they have, suppose, their sun placed in the sign of Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, which is the trine, water trine. So it really shows that, the effect of sun is now coming on your relationship. And sun, as we know, is a very authoritative kind of a planet. It is also a dominating energy, and an energy which is quite opposite to Venus, because sun tends to burn the significations of Venus, and Venus is a very soft, watery planet. So what this can sometimes bring is that, it can bring certain ego clashes, within the two people, or it can even show that, something you have to let go of your ego in that case. You have to somehow you listen to the other person more, so some resistance kind of a thing can be experienced. Or maybe you feel that in the relationship, you cannot do anything according to your will. Like you always have to maybe ask the other person and, their opinion and their say. So some sun kind of a thing can be seen in this kind of a case. Suppose instead of Sun, you have the planet Mercury, interacting with Venus. So let's say you have Venus, in the sign of Aquarius, and you find somebody who has Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra. So that is, you can see the air trine. So in this case, it really shows that there is a lot of friendly, romantic, kind of communication which is happening in this case, because Venus-Mercury combination, usually you will find that it's a very flirtatious kind of a combination, and it is a very creative combination. And with this, you find that you can easily talk, communicate, express yourself with this person, and both are quite. When Mercury is with Venus, it tends to work very creatively, because Mercury is a planet that will get very easily influenced by whichever planet it is getting conjunct with, whichever planet is influencing it. So in this case, it will try to be more, I would say, very funny, jovial, sarcastic. These kind of things will come upon more in the relationship. And the communication thing also becomes very strong, with this kind of a bond. Let's say you have Moon, interacting with your Venus. Like suppose you have Venus in the sign of Aries, and you find somebody who has Moon in the sign of Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. So it is the fire trine, which is there in this case. So in this case, you will find that it is a Venus Moon kind of combination, and both, as we know, are quite watery planets. And Moon is a very emotional planet, as we know. It represents water, liquids, emotions. So when you find that the other person's Moon is interacting with your Venus, it shows that there is a lot of emotions, there is a lot of, you can say, feelings, that are getting activated with this kind of a relationship, in this kind of a bond. So whenever this person comes in your life, whenever you interact, there is a lot of emotional exchange which happens. You can also feel very motherly around this person. You can feel that as if that caring, nurturing side of this person is getting, out more whenever they are with you. So Moon tends to show this kind of a thing. And Moon is also a very romantic planet, so it tends to make the person very romantic, sometimes very delusional also, with respect to relationships, because they love to be in imagination, all the time with this kind of a combination. And they feel like everything is very rosy, and, so some kind of a reality check is sometimes missing with this kind of a combination. Now, talking about reality check, so let's talk about Saturn. So, if you find that, suppose the other person's Saturn is interacting with your Venus, like suppose you have Venus in the sign of Leo, for example. So, if you find a person who has Saturn in the sign of Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, so you will find that their Saturn is influencing your Venus, and Saturn, as we know, it is a planet of reality. It's a very practical, disciplined planet, and very much opposite of Moon, so it is a very cold planet. And with this kind of a combination, the person, like you yourself, can sometimes feel a bit suffocating, in this kind of a relationship. And sometimes it can feel that there is a lot of boundary, there are a lot of restrictions that the person has to follow. And somewhere, you are uh, prone to, like, this combination is prone to making the person more mature, more wise about the relationship. And it tends to make the person very realistic, so whenever you come in contact with such a person, they are constantly giving you a reality check, that it is not always this rosy, You have to be practical in life. You cannot be very non-serious all the time. So you have to take responsibility. So a lot of hard work gets activated with this combination. And because we know that Saturn is also the planet of our karmas, it is also the planet which is connected with our past. So a lot of past baggage, karmic debts, all of those things also get activated whenever you are in touch with this person. But the positive side of this is that because Venus and Saturn are naturally friendly to each other. So it also shows that, with this person, you also have a very long-term kind of a commitment. You have a long-term stability, that is there with this person. And it is a relationship that can go, and it can sort of sail through a lot of things. You can go through a lot of pain, through a lot of hardships with this person, and still you are together. So that is the beauty how, this kind of a combination will work. So suppose you find Jupiter interacting with your Venus. Like suppose you have Venus in the sign of let's say Scorpio, and you meet somebody who has Jupiter in the sign of Scorpio or Cancer or Pisces. So their Jupiter is somewhere influencing your Venus now. And Jupiter, as we know, it is a planet of guidance, of again wisdom, knowledge, and it is a planet which represents your teachers, morality, ethics, all of these things. So it will try to bring all the Jupiterian things into your life. This person can be like your guiding light. He or she can bring a lot of wisdom in your life, and they can somehow show you the right and correct path, to do things. So you can often rely on this person for any kind of life advice, anything wherever you feel stuck. They can provide a lot of knowledge, inspiration to you. And Jupiter is also the planet of hope. It is a very, I would say, optimistic planet. So it also tends to bring in a lot of positivity, a lot of optimism in the relationship. At times, you can feel like if the Jupiter's influence effect is too overpowering, sometimes, it can feel as if this person is trying to always tell me, what to do. Like, the person with their Venus in Scorpio, can feel that, I'm not, they feel like I don't know anything about life and they are constantly telling me that you should do this, you should do that. So that is also one side of Jupiter, which it can sometimes bring. But overall, it is always, for the benefit of the person. It is always for something which would be the correct thing for, this person. So that is the effect which Jupiter brings in. So talking about, so we have covered, all the planets now, and now we will talk about Venus over Venus. So that can also be a case, that you have, suppose, Venus in the sign of Taurus, and you meet somebody who also has Venus in Taurus, in Virgo, or in Capricorn. So what does that mean? So that you can imagine that it is like, Venus is getting more activated. It is like a double activation. And, the effects of qualities of Venus, wherever it is placed in your chart, will be enhanced more by this person. So that is how you can understand that if suppose, their Venus falls in your trine, so it will try to enhance the qualities of your Venus way, way more. So that really depends on your actual placement of Venus, how well it is placed in your chart, in which sign it is placed in. So that will also make a lot of difference in this case. So this was about, like how the planets will interact with each other, how the other person's planets will interact with your Venus. Suppose, and now we can also talk about, the different houses. Like suppose, you meet somebody who has Venus, let's say in the sign of Leo, okay? And let's say you are an Aquarius ascendant. So you can see that their Venus would fall in your seventh house. Okay, so this is the actual meaning of this superimposition of the chart or the synastry part, that how the other person's chart is interacting with your chart. And I can give you another example, like suppose you are a Virgo ascendant and you have, let's say, Venus placed in the sign of Aries, and you meet somebody who, sorry, if you are a Virgo ascendant and suppose you find a person who has their Venus placed in the sign of Aries, So for a Virgo ascendant, we see that Aries is the natural eighth house. So their Venus is now falling in your eighth house. So the houses that Venus naturally rules in your chart, which is the second house, the ninth house, is now making a connection with the eighth house. So what kind of results that will bring in. So we will talk about that in this video. So let me start with the first house now. So let's imagine that you can be any ascendant, with this, and you meet somebody who has, let's say you are a Cancer ascendant, okay, and you find a person who has their Venus in the sign of Cancer. So even if you don't know their chart, even if you don't know their planetary placements and all, in which houses planets are placed, but you can see that because they have Venus in Cancer, so now their Venus is falling on your ascendant. And so in the ascendant, like suppose the other person's Venus is falling in your ascendant, that is the first house. It represents, your entire life, and it represents everything connected with your body, with your personality, with your appearance. And it's a very crucial house, because it is influencing all the different houses in your chart. And if Venus as a planet is falling in your Lagna, so firstly, it is showing that it is going to activate the qualities of Venus very strongly whenever you are interacting with this person. So every time you meet this person, something or the other connected to Venus is always getting activated. So that can also be like it is not always necessary that it would be a very, very good feeling all the time, because that also depends on your chart in the sense that do you have planets in the Lagna? So Venus will also interact with those planets. Then which houses Venus controls in your chart? Suppose it is controlling the eighth house. So energy of eighth house is also getting activated every time you are somewhere meeting this person. So you have to see those, angles also in this. But generally, it shows that because Venus is a benefic planet, it represents, beauty, art, luxury, culture, feminine things. So all the time, all of these kind of things, music, dancing, eating good food. So all of these things are getting more activated whenever this person is in touch with you. And you also tend to feel more romantic, you tend to feel more, I would say, creative, around this person, because that is the original, characteristics of this planet. And Venus, as we know, it is a planet which represents all aesthetic things also. Everything should look beautiful, everything should look very, creative. So a lot of focus is there on that. And Venus also represents the natural second house. So second house is connected also with wealth, with money, with finance. So themes connected to that also kind of bring, they are also more activated with this. And Venus from the Lagna would also aspect or influence the seventh house. So seventh house naturally is the house of partnerships. It is the house of other people. And it is the 1-7 axis also, which naturally is the Mars-Venus axis. So it really shows that with this person, you are, you can pretty much be on cloud nine. You are always feeling very happy. You are always maybe receiving a lot of gifts, from this person, because Venus also represents gifts and things which are expensive in nature. So those are the kind of things which this person is bringing in your life. And it can also happen that, whenever you meet this person around them, that feminine energy is there a lot. Females are always surrounded, by like you're always surrounded by females, or somewhere that, Venus element always sparks. Now let's talk about the second house. So suppose you can be any ascendant, like let's say you are a Scorpio ascendant, and you meet somebody who has their Venus in the sign of Sagittarius. So their Venus would fall in your second house. So again, so this is regarding the second house. And in second house, we know that it is naturally the house connected with family, with your wealth. And it is also the house which is connected with jewelry, with anything which is very um, valuable to you. So it is a house of values. And it is also the house in which naturally the sign of Taurus comes in, which is connected with resources, which is connected with food. And it is again a very creative kind of a sign also. And Taurus, as we know, it is also a very fixed sign. It is also very stubborn in nature in that respect. So if suppose you find that their Venus is coming and influencing your second house, so second house firstly shows that it is connected with family. So with this person, you are always somehow feeling, and that family kind of a feeling is always coming into the picture. With them you feel at home. With them you feel like you are very secure, because Taurus is originally the house and sign of stability, of security. any kind of thing which makes you feel very secure. And Moon also gets naturally exalted in the second house, you know. So this is a person who can actually provide you with a lot of stability in life. You know, with this person, you feel very safe in all respects. And there is also a very splurge, you can say, that happens with respect to food, you know, which can happen with respect to maybe fine dining. And it can also happen with respect to money, you know. So this person has a lot of power to influence your bank account also, you know, like in some way, directly or indirectly, something connected to your personal wealth, something connected to your family is getting very strongly activated with this person coming in your life. And this can also show that it is also kind of way, in a way, a dhan yoga, you know, because that person's Venus is coming in your second house, you know. So it can show that through this person, you can gain a lot of Venus related things in life also. And so a lot will depend also on sign, you know, which is placed over there. And also if you have any planet already placed in the second house. So that will also matter a lot with this. And from the second house, we see that it also aspects the eighth house. So eighth house is a very hidden kind of a house. It is also the house of you know, sexual activities, for example. So this kind of a thing also gets more activated with this kind of a combination. Like with this, you feel more you know, you feel more romantic with this person, and there is that Venus kind of an element. So we also know that second house is also the house of your face. It is also the house which represents your voice, you know, and it is also a very creative house in that respect. So this can also show that whenever you are with this person, you are also somehow feeling very creative, you know, in the sense that, you know, there can be like a lot of singing, dancing, you know, those kind of things can also get more activated. And it can also indicate that you are putting in a lot of effort to look your best also with this person, you know, because like I said, second house is the house of face. So you are taking care a lot of the second house related things, you know, whenever this person is around you. So it can show that as well. And also, because I said second house is connected to food, so there can be like a lot of focus on food also. And spending a lot of money on food also, or on any second house related things. So, because you have to understand that, you know, the more you are in contact with this person, you know, all the planets, you know, it's not just Venus, but every planet would be activating certain houses in your chart, you know. And you can see that regarding related to those houses, you would be feeling certain way. You know, that is why whenever we interact with different people, we feel differently with them. You know, some people tend to make us more angry, some people tend to make us more calm, so it may so happen that maybe somebody's Mars is coming on your Lagna, you know, like their Mars is influencing your moon or your ascendant, and that is the reason why you are feeling this way towards that person. So that is how we have to understand this synastry part. And we also see that, you know, Venus, as we know, it is a very beautiful, artistic, you know, kind of a planet. And wherever it sits, it wants to beautify something in that area, you know. And with regard to second house, you know, because I said that it is connected very strongly with your resources, with your family, and anything which is connected with jewelry and, you know, accessories and all those things. So there is a lot of focus on those things as well, you know, with this placement. And it can also indicate that because it is also aspecting the eighth house, you know, which is the house of other people's wealth, other people's family. It is also the house of in-laws, you know. So it is also having a very benefic kind of an influence on that, you know. So with this placement, you are trying to maintain that harmony, like Venus over here, if it is behaving in a good manner, the person is trying to create a very good harmonious relationship between their family and with the other person's family also, provided that there are no malefic you know, associations in this regard. And it can also indicate that this person can have a lot of direct influence or like a special connect with your family also, you know, because second house represents your family. And lot of things connected to culture, values, you know, that you can feel that sameness with this person, you know, with regard to their culture, their background, and how your family is, you know. So that is something which Venus will always highlight in this relationship. And we also have to understand that wherever Venus will sit, like, you know, the other person's Venus, wherever it is sitting in your chart, that particular house is also kind of acting like a theme for your relationship, for your marriage. You know, if you suppose get married to them, that is having a lot of foundation, like that house has a lot of foundation which it will build in for your relationship. Now let's talk about the third house now. So let's say that you are Aries ascendant, and you're supposed to meet somebody who has Venus in the sign of Gemini. So you can see that their Venus would fall in your third house, you know. And third house, like we know, it is naturally the house of communication, of expression. It's also the house of texting and traveling. So it's a very communicative, movement oriented kind of a house, you know. And when the other person's Venus is interacting with your third house, so firstly, it shows that with this person, there is a lot of free flowing communication, free flowing expression that will happen in this relationship. You can express yourself in the best way with this person, and you will feel that there is a lot of connect, you know, with respect to communication. You know, you never feel like there is a lot of boredom that happens in this relationship, because always there is a lot of flirtatious communication either, or there is a lot of playfulness that is there in this relationship. And there can also be themes strongly connected to traveling, you know, strongly connected to maybe writing letters, yeah, something in which that communication thing is, you know, coming out very strongly. So you can also observe those kind of elements happening in the relationship. And third house is also the house of courage. You know, it is also the house of you know, your subconscious mind, and it is also eighth from the eighth. So it is also in a way showing certain rejuvenation, you know, certain transformation, certain changes. So when this person enters your life, you can also experience that rejuvenation part. You can experience some kind of a healing, or something in you has definitely changed, you know, with this person. Like you have transformed yourself more. And this person can also have that ability to transform and change your beliefs, you know, how you see life, how, what your philosophy is about life, because it will also aspect and influence the ninth house from there. So it can show something like that also. But it definitely shows that with this person, you tend to feel more creative. Third house is also the house of your hobbies. You know, it is the house of your hands, your expressions. So whenever you have this person around you, you want to experience life, you know, in a very different way with this person. You want to travel more with them. And all of these things give you a lot of happiness when you do it with this person, because their Venus is interacting with your third house. And so even like playing games and all are a lot fun with this person. Now let's talk about the fourth house. So suppose you are a Cancer ascendant, and suppose you find somebody who has Venus in the sign of Libra, you know, and that is your fourth house. So in this, you know, what kind of a thing you will experience with this? So you can see that their Venus is now interacting with your fourth house. And fourth house is the house of home. You know, it is naturally the house connected with your mother. It's the house which gives you a lot of peace and inner happiness. So this person, like whoever this person is, firstly is bringing in a lot of peace, harmony in your life. You know, he or she is bringing a lot of moon-like qualities in your life. It is also the house of emotions, feelings, caring, nurturing. You know, so whenever this person is with you, you feel very secure, you feel very safe with this person. There is a lot of that emotional attachment that you have with this person, you know, and this person can make you feel very complete, you know, within. So again, it is something which is very feeling oriented, it's very intuitive, and it is not anything which maybe your logic can explain you, but that is a kind of relation which will come about with this particular placement. And with this person, you can also experience that, you know, Venus is somehow now activating and is creating an influence in your fourth house, you know. So with this person, you can also feel, try, like, you know, some kind of a Venus element will try to play out in your house, in your home, in your surroundings. So Venus in the fourth house, usually we say that the person is, you know, fond of decorating their house a lot. They like to stay in good houses. So maybe when this person came in your life, you moved to a very nice, luxurious kind of an apartment, or you moved to a place which was very beautiful, or maybe the surroundings are very clean, you know. So something like Venus would get activated if you entered into a relationship with that person. So some effect like that can also be experienced by you. And we also see that fourth house is the house of your home, basically, you know. So it is anything which makes you feel very comfortable, you know. So whenever you are with this person, you are the most comfortable, you know, with this person. And that is the beauty of this kind of a placement which you will experience. Now let's talk about the fifth house. So suppose you have, let's say, a Pisces ascendant, and like you meet somebody who has Venus in the sign of Cancer, and that is your fifth house. So now their Venus is coming in your fifth house, and as we know, fifth house is the natural house of relationships, and it represents love, romance, anything in which that um, relationship, or every element connected with relationship is seen from the fifth house. And it is also the house connected with entertainment, with theater, with arts, and all of these kind of things. So this is kind of a very good kind of a combination in that sense, because it shows that whenever you are with this person, you are literally like, that kind of a thing is there, what should be in a relationship, you are able to express yourself romantically, you are very happy with this person, and you are able to experience all creative things with this person very easily. And this also somewhere shows that with this person, that creative side comes out more in you. You are way more maybe romantic, way more creative with this person than maybe you are usually not, because this person is activating your fifth house now. Maybe this person is forcing you or is pushing you to, maybe visit new places, new clubs, and, because it is also the house connected with enjoyment, with pleasure. And it's also a very dramatic house in that way, because Leo sign comes in the fifth house. So Leo is a sign of pomp and show also. So with this person in your life, maybe suddenly your life is becoming more social. You are partying more, you are going out more. And this placement of Venus will also aspect your 11th house. So 11th house also, we know that is the house of socializing, and it's a very I would say network oriented kind of a house. So with this person, you are somehow meeting and coming in contact with new people, and somehow your life is improving more. So that is a kind of thing which you will experience. And this particular placement of Venus can also indicate a very strong connection from the past that you are carrying with this person, because fifth house is naturally the house of past, and their Venus is now coming in your fifth house. So it can show something like that also. But sometimes you will experience that this particular placement can also give in certain challenges. That challenges come in because that original Leo energy is there in this house, like it is the original house of Sun. And Sun and Venus are inimical to each other. They are not really friendly to each other. So certain Sun related issues can also come into the picture with this particular placement. Now, let's move to the next house, which is the sixth house. So suppose you are a Sagittarius ascendant, and you meet somebody who has Venus in the sign of Taurus. So Venus for like that person like is in Taurus, but it is your sixth house. So if suppose you find that somebody's Venus is falling in your sixth house, so firstly we know that sixth house is the house of debt. It is the house of karmic debt. It is the house of loans, and it is a difficult kind of a house. It is not a very easy house, because it is filled with chaos, with taking responsibilities of things, becoming very routine oriented, and doing service, to the other person. And it's also the house of fights, conflicts, animals, diseases, all of these kind of things. So when their Venus comes in your sixth house, it is not, I would say, the best placement to have, for Venus, because naturally in this house it gets debilitated also. So Venus does not really like the sixth house so much, but in this case, it can show that in the relationship there can be certain elements of nitpicking that can come. Like being critical, being very fussy, being very finicky. So those kind of things come out more whenever maybe you are with this person. Like you are maybe constantly trying to find more faults, or you become more fault oriented, with this person, and you are somehow maybe not able to appreciate the good qualities of this person. And this placement can also sometimes make the person not able to express their love so much towards the other person, because their Venus is connected to your sixth house now. So it can sometimes make it difficult to tell the other person how much you value them, how much you mean to them. So that kind of a thing can be more challenging. For certain people, it can indicate that there is a lot of hard work, there is a lot of effort that they have to put in order for the relationship to work with this person. Because sixth house is the house of efforts, it is the house of putting in that hard work. It is the house of challenges, so all of these things kind of get more activated when this person is around you. And certain times it can indicate that, on the positive side, that when this person comes in your life, you are naturally becoming more service oriented towards people in general. Maybe you are becoming more generous, kind towards animals. You are developing that seva bhavna, to do good for other people, maybe to do something for underprivileged females, for example. So that kind of an attitude can also be cultivated with this particular placement. But generally, it makes love a bit more challenging. It makes difficult, like there is some difficulty, resistance, to express your love, to communicate it, clearly to the person. At certain times it can show that there are certain disagreements that can happen with this, and there is a lot of difference of opinion, maybe with the person, or sometimes it can show that you are not, willing to go quite near, close to the person. So that romantic resistance comes into the picture with this placement. Okay, so now let's talk about the seventh house. So suppose you are a Libra ascendant, and suppose you meet somebody who has their Venus in the sign of Aries. So their Venus is now falling in your seventh house. And seventh house, as we know, is naturally the house of Venus. So it represents relationships, it represents partnerships, marriage, and what kind of a person basically you want. It is also the house of business of other people. So when their Venus is coming in your seventh house, so firstly it shows that Venus will try to feel, and do its level best, to create that harmonious kind of a romantic relationship, with this person. But we also know that Libra sign naturally comes in the seventh house, which is quite an imbalanced sign. It is not the sign of balance, actually. So Venus over here will also kind of feel a bit imbalanced in a way. There can be a situation with this person that there is always that thing which you are trying, there is something in the relationship that you're always trying to balance. It could be maybe the work is too much, for this person, and, that work is coming in between the relationship. So maybe that is something that you have to balance. Or maybe the home side, their personal life is way too hectic, so that is something that they have to balance with you. But over here, it shows that major struggle is there to balance it out. But still, Venus over here tries to make the relationship really beautiful. You tend to feel that pure Venus energy, in this kind of a placement. And from the seventh house, it will also aspect and influence the first house. So it is also kind of bringing all the Venus related things to your life, and that experience, it is going to give off that pure Libra energy you can experience. So this house is also again connected with socializing, because Libra is also a very social kind of an energy. And Venus in itself, like we know, it is a Rajasic planet, it is a social planet. So with this person coming in your life, your social life is also going to enhance more. You are going to meet more people. Maybe you are attending more weddings, so it represents all those kind of things connected to the seventh house. And if suppose you have business, you are doing your own work, so Venus over here can also bring in a lot of good fortune, good money, in respect to your work also. So these are the kind of things which, you can experience if this person comes in your life. Now let's talk about the eighth house. So suppose you are, let's say, Virgo ascendant, and like you meet somebody who has, Venus in the sign of Aries. So their Venus is now coming in your eighth house. And eighth house, as we know, it is a very transformative kind of a house. It is the house of ups and downs. It is the house of secrets. And it is also the house connected to sexual activities. It is connected to occult, to research, all of these things. So with this person, firstly, a lot of eighth house related things can get activated, very strongly. Like you can experience that suddenly, your life was very stable. And with this person coming in your life, a lot of things have suddenly started happening, because again, it has that Martian energy in this house, and also the energy of Ketu is present. So something really significant, something very big or transformative can also happen with this person coming in your life. And you can experience all these things when things start to get more serious, when you are more associated, when you're meeting the person more. So these things tend to occur, more rapidly at that time. This placement of Venus can also increase the sexual activity, with this person. Like you can feel a lot more lustful with this person because eighth house is naturally the house of, Scorpio. And you can also experience that with this person somewhere you are also experiencing rejuvenation in your life. Maybe you have to rework on yourself, or there is a lot of self introspection that has happened in your life because of which something inside you has also changed. And it is also the house which is connected with mysterious dark things, things connected to occult research. So this person can also help, or maybe both of you can also experience a love for eighth house related things post, marriage or post your relationship. So maybe there is a lot of interest that is suddenly coming in occult. There is a lot of interest which is coming in mysterious things, in dark things, and you are somehow getting more attracted towards those kind of things in your life. So something like that also you can experience. And this person can also have a very big impact on your wealth, because we see that this second, eighth axis, both of these houses are somewhere connected with wealth. Second house is your own wealth, eighth house is other people's wealth. So from the eighth house, also Venus will look at the second house. So it is showing that this person is having a significant effect on your bank account, on your wealth also. So these are the kind of things which you can experience with respect to the eighth house. Now let's talk about the ninth house. So suppose you are a Capricorn ascendant, and suppose you find somebody who has Venus in the sign of Virgo. So their Venus is now coming in your ninth house, or it can be any other ascendant. But you see that their Venus is coming in your ninth house. So ninth house, as we know, it is the house of Jupiter, and it is a very religious kind of a house. It's a very dharmic house, so it tries to uphold the dharma part very strongly, very ethical house. So with this person, firstly, you will see that, suddenly you will become more intellectual, you will become more knowledge oriented, and you would always want to do the right thing. You would become more justice oriented or very ethical in your relationship, firstly. That is a kind of thing which it will bring about. And somewhere you will experience that your horizon is getting more expanded with this person. Maybe this person is teaching you a lot new things which you were not aware of before. So there is a lot of learning, there is a lot of knowledge exchange which is happening with this particular placement. And this placement of Venus will also activate the bhagya luck for the person. Venus is naturally a benefic planet, and in the ninth house it will try to enhance the qualities of your bhagya luck, fortune, and prosperity. And this placement also indicates that you can travel a lot with this person. You can experience different, maybe religious places with this person. And somewhere there is a lot of intercultural, kind of an interaction which is happening. Because ninth house is a very international, global kind of a house, like it is the house of other people, different cultures, different religions, things like that will come, about more in your life. And you can also experience a lot of things connected to communication, expression very clearly with this, because from the ninth house, it will also aspect the third house. So it shows that in your relationship, this 3-9 axis is going to play a very big role, So communication, texting, expression, all of these things, traveling will become a very significant theme of the relationship. But somewhere with this person, you will feel that you are getting at a stage where you feel that because you have this person with you, you can go through anything in life. That is also the kind of, I would say, that Jupiterianness it gives in you. Like it gives you that strength inside to deal with any kind of thing in life, because this is originally the house of Sagittarius. So when their Venus is coming in your ninth house, so it will definitely activate something related to that also. It can also activate something connected to temples, something connected to your religious beliefs that can also change and get impacted because of this Venus. And somewhere you will definitely want to experience life to the fullest with this person, in this house, because of this 3-9 axis. Now let's talk about the 10th house. So suppose you find that you are, let's say, Capricorn ascendant, and you meet somebody who has their Venus in the sign of Libra. So their Venus is now coming in your 10th house. And 10th house, as we know, it is the original sign of Capricorn, original house of Saturn. It's connected with your work, with your profession, with your duties, your karmas. And it's a very disciplined, practical kind of a house. So when Venus firstly comes here, firstly it shows that Venus with this person, you have to somehow be very orderly in life. You have to be very disciplined or focused or practical. That is the kind of expectation which this Venus will try to bring about. And it also indicates that there is a lot of exchange of work and relationship that will come into the picture with this. Like when this person comes in your life, you can experience something major with respect to your work, with your profession, with your job. And generally also it shows that, whenever you are at your workplace, you are definitely thinking more about this person. The relationship part is now intermingling with your work. So that is something which you will experience with this. And it also indicates that with this person, there can be kind of like a delay, slowness also that you can experience in your relationship. Like there could be times when you are not able to, communicate, meet very frequently with this person. Like that delay kind of an element can be there in, with regard to the relationship part. And somewhere that more hard work, more duties, responsibilities are there on your head. So this is a kind of thing which you will experience when Venus comes in your 10th house. And this Venus on the positive side, it can also indicate something really good happening in your workplace, because of this person entering your life. Like you are feeling more at, I would say not exactly in charge, but like you are feeling more happy, to be at work. So that can also be a kind of experience which you can feel with this particular placement. But with this placement of Venus, you have to make sure that you are definitely not taking any shortcuts, in the relationship, and you are following a very Saturn-like path, that can lay a very strong foundation for the relationship later on. Now let's talk about the 11th house. So suppose you find that you are a Taurus ascendant, and you find that like you meet somebody who has, let's say, their Venus in the sign of Pisces, So Pisces is the 11th house for Taurus ascendant. And you find that 11th house is naturally the house of Aquarius. And it is the house connected with socializing, with networking, and meeting other people all the time. And it's a very ambitious kind of a house, because it is the house of desires, wishes, hopes, and go-getter kind of a house. And Rahu also has an influence on this house. So when their Venus falls in your 11th house, firstly, you can experience a big surge in all of these things, like big surge in socializing, in networking. Like maybe with this person, they have a lot of friends, and because of them, you are interacting now with those people. So something like that you can experience. The wishes, desires part can also come true very strongly with this. Maybe you are receiving a lot of gifts from this person. You are gaining a lot, basically. Like gain of all Venus related things is happening with this placement whenever you are with this person. So for materialistic gain and all, it is a very good kind of a combination, which you can see. And it can also indicate that suddenly that Venus feminine element is coming out more in your network circle. Maybe suddenly you have more female friends, or maybe you have more people who are very luxurious, who are very rich, like those are also the things which Venus represents. So something like that you can experience, when this person comes in your life. And even with this placement, because from the 11th house, Venus will also aspect and influence the 5th house. So 5th house is naturally the house of love, expression, relationships. So this again placement kind of reinforces that, love, romanticness more, between you and this person. And somewhere it also indicates that, when this person comes in your life, you will be able to experience all the things connected to those houses also, whichever houses Venus controls in your chart. So gains connected to those houses can also happen, and you can experience that also. For example, if Venus is controlling your 4th house, so it can show that some vehicle purchase can happen, some house purchase can happen, when this person enters your life. So something like that also you can see. And but on the other side, we also see that 11th house is also the 6th, it is 6 places away from the 6th house. So it is also the house which is a higher version of the 6th house. And 6th house also represents challenges. It also represents difficult things, and things which have to do with disagreements also. So something connected with that 6th house energy can also manifest at times with this particular placement. So that is also something which you have to see. And you have to see the planets also. Like if you have already any planet placed in the 11th house, so Venus will also interact with that planet. Now let's talk about the 12th house. So suppose you find that you are a Gemini ascendant, let's say, and you find somebody who has Venus in the sign of Taurus. Or let's say that you are a Leo ascendant and you find somebody who has Venus in the sign of Cancer. So in both cases, their Venus is falling in your 12th house. And 12th house, as we know, it is naturally the house in which Venus gets exalted, but it is the house of isolation. It is the house of, peace, basically, and a place which is very quiet, which is very calm and very away from the world. It has nothing to do with the materialistic world so much. It is also the house where Ketu feels very happy. So with this person, you can experience that whenever you are with this person, you feel like you have escaped the entire world. You feel like you are in your own dream world and you don't have to deal with anything connected to the real world, to the real life situation. So that dreaminess kind of a thing happens, whenever you are with this person. So that is a kind of, thing which it will activate. It can also activate a lot of peace, like a lot of inner contentment, inner happiness, inner peace in your life. And you can also experience that joy of giving out more to other people because it is also the house of donations. It is also the house of doing something for the society, for humanity, for example. So these kind of things Venus can, here activate more because Venus is also a very giving kind of a planet, and it naturally gets exalted in Pisces. So if this Venus has a good dignity, has a good sign, so it can show that the person can have very strong inclination to do seva for other people in this placement. But suppose you find that over here you have materialistic planets already, or Venus is in a very materialistic situation, like it is with Rajasic planets, it is in a materialistic sign. So in that respect, then it can increase the bed pleasures more. It can increase the negative side of the 12th house more. So 12th house also represents escapism of negative kinds. It can represent things connected to alcohol, also things connected to addiction. So Venus over here can also bring in that kind of a thing with this person. Or some kind of a loss can also happen, like expenses, losses. So all of those things can get triggered. So you actually have to really study the dignity of Venus, like what sign it is in. Is there any planet already in the 12th house? All of these things will also matter a lot and will influence the way that we see this particular alignment. But generally, if it is a positive Venus, it will bring in that purity into your life. It will give you more bliss, this placement. And you can also feel a lot of devotion in this connect, with this person. Like if their Venus is coming in your 12th house, you feel very divinely connected with this person in some way, or some soul connect you can experience with this person, that because of that, there is a lot of blind faith on this person. There is a lot of devotion towards this person. So that kind of a placement also, this particular Venus can give to you. So this was about, synastry of Venus and how Venus influences your life, like the other person's Venus influences your life with respect to the planets and with respect to the houses. So I hope that you have learned something new from this video, and thank you so much for watching, and see you all the next time.